Hello, hello. Get yourself something to drink. Be back in 8 minutes. Ready?
Hi.
Oh, hello. Give me like a hot minute.
Well, you're not ready then.
Okay, I think I'm ready. One sec. I have the phone charger. All right. I need to do like a get my shit together check.
You know what I do sometimes? Sound bowl.
A what?
Sound bowl. Before I start podcasting, I'll go through a whole ritual because I am an auditory witch. So I'm not telling you what to do.
Okay, can I get a sound check from like the people in the chat? Can you hear us? Does it sound okay?
Hello.
Because I have it muted on the YouTube, but I need to make sure that that's, I don't want to run into the issue that we were having earlier with like double audio.
Well, that was because I was listening to it on my phone.
That's a whole nother story. Okay. Class, anyone? Is there anyone out there? Bon. Perfecto.
You need
Okay.
a theme song that plays for a few minutes before you come on.
Oh, what about this lighting? Where's my phone? I think I might need to adjust it. What color are we feeling? Should I give everyone a seizure? Like I did to you earlier?
Take a good look at
Oh,
it.
so
Look at it now.
do I need to record this through Zoom or is it all going to be recorded on YouTube? Like
The
will I
live will
have
be on YouTube, but you
Okay.
can record it through Zoom as well. But unless you're going to put up the audio on your podcast,
Should I?
I mean, I have an unpublished folder. I don't know what I'm ever going to
Could
do
be
with
good
it.
clips, I suppose. Fuck. There's so much like gadgets to do. Okay, people, I'm so sorry we're talking about this shit.
No,
Hi.
but it's
How are
so
you?
tedious.
It's so tedious. Oh, I want to change my name.
That is the female sound of who's the dude they tried to convince us was real for 30 years that they rolled around in a wheelchair and said he was the smartest man on the planet. That was he was on like David Letterman. And that voice that said recording in progress is the female version of his voice. David Hawking?
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking.
David? Oh, David? Okay, hold on. The black just blends in. I guess I just shouldn't really worry about what I look like.
You know, to be fair, you should have my background and I should have yours for the color of our hair.
Truth. Okay.
My
Maybe no.
skin tone and hair color and background are all kind of the same color.
People are just gonna watch me get ready. So sorry. Maybe I should have worn a different shirt. This is some unsold merch that you might see one day. Not unsold. What am I saying? Unmade.
It's
I have the
a
only version.
prototype.
Prototype. Okay. Let's talk about the coolest thing possible. I need to figure out how I can see the chat and then only look at you in Zoom because oh my god, if I stare at myself on YouTube, I'm gonna freaking cry.
Why?
I don't like the mirrored version of my face. Freaks me out.
Can you turn it around?
Nah.
Is it weird that you don't like the mirror version of your face and that could be the only version I ever see?
Dude, we're supposed yeah. Isn't it weird that you have no confirmation that like what you see in the mirror is what you see? You know? Like I'll never actually see what I look like.
Do you think, what if our brains make us look far, like, I mean, I know it's the thing of like some people look at themselves and they have body dysmorphia. I'm sure it's the same for our face.
Oh, for sure. I was like really, really, really critiquing something because it's hard for me to put myself on my stories and shit, like even this right now. And I was like watching one of my stories back, like over analyzing myself, being like, God, this looks bad and this looks terrible. And then I was like, wait, if I was objectively looking at my face right now, like I don't think I would notice any of these things.
I just feel like I'm like my face is just kind of
Rat.
run of the mill. Like, meh. Um, when I was talking to Human Vibration on a podcast, I thought it was really funny because she said if you take like most people and you dropped us off in like the Philippines, everyone would look alike to us for like the first week.
Oh,
And
we were just
after,
talking about that on the podcast. It's a phenomenon.
yeah, and as time goes on, as you're there, everyone, you're like, you start to see the detailed differences of everyone. And so I was like, so if like me and you, HB, got dropped off in like the middle of Japan, she's like, we're twins. And
Well,
it's just like that kind of like real
it ties
difference.
into like the actual race of it all. And it's not supposed to be racist by any means, but like when white people look at black people or white people look at Asian people, like we all collectively kind of like we all look the same to each other until you spend more time and are able to like discern more.
I wish I could shout out occasionally and be like, what was that thing we were talking about? Because I want to do this whole part in my comedy act called like, I want to talk about it. Like, that's some white people shit. Because there's certain things that white people do that no other race would ever do it. Like, it's just like an unnecessary danger or stupid. And
There's
I was
a man that talks about like white women and dogs. Like white women will just like run up to a pit bull and like put their face in their face. No.
That's so true. Like, what? That's a wolf. Dear, zero disregard. It's like a child.
Yeah. Like they'll take like no 2 seconds to think about that. They'll just like go straight for it. But yeah.
You know, like those big, huge balloons and they're just on a lake somewhere and they're shaped like a ramp and like two really big fat guys jump off a crane and there's some like 110-pound woman on the end of the other side and they land on it and she shoots like 1,000 feet in the air. That's some dumb white people bullshit. Like nobody on any other, it just seems like a ludicrous idea that's not going to end well. It just seems dangerous in too many regards for there's 3 people and 3 humans and then this balloon on water. It's just stupid. That's just one example, but there was one last night that I would be like, let me shout out a friend because it was like the dumbest thing ever. And I'm like, who would do this? But it was.
I was at the bar, or I was at a really nice restaurant last night. I was at Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse in Nashville. And I always sit at the bar when I take myself out to dinner. And so there's this whole, it's like almost like a supper club type thing. There's like a whole band in front of us, elevated on top of the bar. And while they were encouraging the white people to dance in the bar area, that doesn't mean that you take it up, but it was three
Did
white
you say
dudes.
they were encouraging the white people to dance specifically?
Well, it was mostly like white people. It was just like white people. And then the white people stood up and like it was three men dancing, just like pushing each other, like scream yelling the songs, and just like people watching them, like being
like they're like, I
or,
get knocked down and I get up again.
Or like don't like Sweet Caroline, like that kind of stuff. Like that's some white people bullshit.
Like this at a bar. Ba ba ba.
I gotta say, I'm so excited because on my old Maria account that got deleted in September of 2020, Big Boy of Outcast used to follow me, and he's a huge conspiracy guy. And you guys, he followed the Oracle tonight. So I'm back in the game. And I'm always sliding into his DMs being like, hey, do you want a podcast with me? So maybe I'll like pop up in his top results now.
Are you an Outcast fan?
Hell yeah. Bombs over Baghdad, baby. Let's go. I don't really keep pushing my face like that. I guess
You can't.
Honestly, I just want to like cover myself so I can't see.
That's what somebody who podcasts told me to do. Get a Post-it, and you just put the Post-it over your spot of the screen, and so you don't have to stare at yourself because you unintentionally become a narcissist. You're like, I can't stop looking at myself. Every move I make, look at my eyebrows.
Okay, stop touching my face. Anyone, do you have any thoughts? Do you have any ideas? I want people to, let's see. I told this story today to you and Alex, and you guys told me I was really creepy. So let's see what the class has to say. I go to Jeff Ruby last night. I'm sitting by myself. It's kind of busy at the bar, but at one point I have like nobody beside me for like a good 45 minutes. And then these two white men show up and just assume that I want to talk to them. And one of them is on drugs and drunk. And then there was another one who was kind of attractive, and he was like trying to set me up with the attractive one. And we talked for like a minute, and then I literally watched his drugs kick in. Like normal conversation. And then suddenly this like flip switched. And then they were in like the white men dancing territory, as the other three people were at that point. Anyways, he went to like a rival Catholic high school in Tennessee. He swam on the same swim team as like my best friend growing up. And his friend was lying to me about him, saying that he played baseball. And he kept being like, you don't know how important my friend is. And I kept going, I literally don't give a fuck who your friend is. So after we parted ways, I tried to find him, and I like texted my friend, but it was at midnight and she was asleep. And then I figured out what his name was, and I requested to follow him on Instagram today. Now the night devolved.
I feel like some of the story seems so some of the story is just like, you even built it up. You're such an attorney. You even built it up. You set the whole premise up about how he went to school with your friend.
Well, I was doing very specific Boolean searches where you like put things in quotes, trying to find this Dan. I'm just gonna the Dan. And I couldn't find it. And then I was like, oh, Facebook. And I went to my friend's page and I searched Dan, and there he was. It was so easy. And I couldn't find his professional MLB page because it doesn't exist.
Fair enough.
So they said I was really creepy.
Mm-mm.
And I said it was
what
so
was the
easy.
creepy part though? Because you added him as a friend, not because
because I requested to follow him from my personal account.
And then Alex said, "Did he give you his last name?" And you said no. And she
No.
said, "That's creepy."
But you guys did say if he were to like call me out on it or say something, I'll be like, I found it from your Major League Baseball page.
Yeah. Which I thought was really clever.
That was
I
clever.
have to give Alex credit on both sides of this. I was just privy to the conversation. I didn't say creeps. She called you like Creepsville or something.
Let's see if he's accepted my follow request. I'm gonna vote no.
How long ago did you do it?
Oh, I did it this morning at like 11 a.m. So see, the thing is, I did it last night when I found it, and then I realized that he shouldn't see that when he woke up. So I unrequested the follow, and then I waited until like 11 o'clock today and then did it.
What if he gets a notification like on his phone, like right on the face of it? That's like,
He might not even
My
remember
Maria
me.
777 followed you. And then it's like nowhere. He's like, huh. He just tilts his head while he's eating a grilled cheese on his couch, like, huh. And then later he gets one in the morning.
Again,
Same
this
thing.
bitch. Oh, still requested. Neither approved nor denied.
Well, to be fair, normal people don't go on Instagram as
Don't go on
much as
Instagram
us.
as much as we do. Now, if I was being my conniving self, I would put a story on my personal Instagram only to see if he watched it. Like that would be the only intention of the story, just to see if somebody's creeping on me or not.
This is all from the interaction last night.
This is all from somebody that I would probably never see again. But this, I'm just saying, these
It's
are
a
the
hunt.
things I would do. I would like take a picture of Peyton or something and throw it up on my story.
You're outing too much.
If I just want to see that one dude has watched my story, I put up a picture of Peyton.
It's always Peyton.
Or like a memory on this day.
Whew.
Yeah. Fucking lunatic, guys.
Men. YouTube. Yeah. You can follow the Oracle 333.
Now followed by Big Boy from Outcast. Let's manifest a podcast. I would drive to Atlanta. That would be a hell of a vlog. We would be doing it. I'd be like, can I come to your house? Can we do this in person?
I've seen Big Boy in concert without Andre 3000, just Big Boy solo.
It's funny. I think it was him. This is a bad story. Never mind. Anyways, we'll move on. There was just one point that my sister was working with somebody down in Atlanta, and I think she either met him. I can't remember if it was him or some other character down there, and they were flirting with her. And she was like, "Oh yeah, he asked me out on a date," and I said no. And I was like, "You could be a Real Housewife of Atlanta. Like, take one for the team."
I've only seen Beverly Hills.
Oh,
I've only seen Beverly Hills, but I know all about the Real Housewives, the Church of the Real Housewives.
The night I met Dan changed my life. Somebody said I play too much. I honestly play too much with myself because nobody else is playing with me. I'm just playing these games by myself.
Like, I'm bored. I wonder what I can find out on a couple of little instruments that we have in the palm of our hand now. It's like your brain just wants to research shit.
Oh, it's like a project, like give me a name. I can tell you everything about them in about 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, some people are just pulling tarot about the person. Or, everybody has their thing. Some people are swinging pendulums about the person they just met at the bar. Some people are like saying a prayer about them. I guess everybody has their thing. You're just like, I wonder if in less than 15 minutes I can find out everything about this man.
Yes, I
Is he
can.
really a professional? But I also feel like you call yourself a professional baseball player. You put yourself in that like fame category of you made me look.
Oh, right. I mean, I'm like unapologetic about it. I don't care. Oh,
Mm.
swell.
Oh, well.
If you love me, you'll learn that I can research anything in about 15 minutes. So, we should tell everyone, what are we doing at the
On
end of
the
the month?
25th,
Mhm.
on the 25th of February, we're going to go see Sam Tripoli in Nashville. Is it a tinfoil hat podcast night or just Sam Tripoli is headlining and there's going to be some openers? Do we know
You
officially?
keep talking and I will pull it up.
So if you guys don't know who Sam Tripoli is, Sam Tripoli is the host of Tinfoil Hat Podcast, Broken Simulation, Cash Daddies, Zero, and Conspiracy Social Club with Brian Callen. Damn. That's like Sam Tripoli super fan shit that I just listed those off at the top of my head, but I'm sure I missed a few. He is also a stand-up comic and he's doing a live stand-up comedy night in or around Nashville on February 25th. My Maria is going to pull it up or you can Google that information.
So all it just says is Sam Tripoli live in Nashville at the Bavarian Beer House. I don't know what that entails, if that's conspiracy or comedy or whatever, but everyone, Cheney's coming up to Nashville. Our moderator, Alex Daddy, is coming up to Nashville. Kara Mosier is coming to Nashville. And we're just gonna like meet our friends in real life. I'm gonna film my first episode of the vlog. So if you're cool and you're around, then you should come down.
Let's hang out. Let's laugh. Let's have
Mhm.
beers and talk about psyops.
And we might go walk around. I'm gonna show them the bomb site where that Christmas bombing happened in 2021, downtown Nashville. We're gonna get tattoos.
Aren't there big heads by you? Didn't you say that?
Big heads. What do you mean?
Isn't there maybe it's a different state? I thought there in Tennessee there was like big, huge
Oh,
heads.
those are in near Washington D.C. that I sent you. The president
Oh,
heads.
that yeah, I don't know why that seems so crazy.
Oh, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll post it on my stories after this, everyone. But there's this artist that made these huge, huge stone busts, probably like the size of a room, of each president. And they were supposed to go into some park, I think, that was supposed to open up that went bankrupt or whatever. And so this like random man just has them in his field now. And some of them are broken and messed up, but it's this huge field full of these gigantic busts that of every single president. It's quite incredible. It's on private property now. I think I read a long time ago that somebody like had asked the owner and was allowed to go and like write an article and shit like that. But I would love to go film that.
Here. Let's see. We're gonna see if we can do this because I always watch other people do this, but I never okay. Never mind. You disabled screen sharing. I was like, look at I pulled it up and I have a picture and I'll share my screen.
How do I enable screen sharing?
Probably somewhere on the screen there's three
What did you
dots.
Google? I'll bring it up real quick.
I just put in huge president's head in the field. Like I literally dictated while you were talking. So it says huge president's head in field.
Here we go. I'm gonna screen share. Let's see. Let's see.
There's a couple of them with people
Do you
by it so
see?
you can get some real perspective. Nope. All we see is your Pornhub.
Shh. RedTube. Can you see it now?
Just one head. The
Okay.
Smithsonian. Okay.
So this is George Washington. And let's scroll down. Yeah, look at that cone. Do you see the cone in perspective?
Yeah.
That's huge.
I almost pointed at it on my computer
I
screen.
pointed at it too. Ooh, look, there's a 47, 478 followers saying hello to us. Let's
Hankins.
see. So that was supposed to be at the 2003 President's Park in Leeds, South Dakota. Oh, look at them. How interesting.
It's so peculiar.
Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, it's like a mini golf course.
Okay. That's not what I wanted, y'all.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's just really cool. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed
that's fun.
President's Heads.
That's fun. We looked at them with our eyeballs.
Okay, so Janie, what's up? What should we talk about?
So we're doing that. I was thinking you always post interesting stuff on your Instagram. And so we could probably go back through and see what you have been chatting about this week.
Well, I would love to hear what you have to say, and I'd love to hear what everyone in the class thinks about the convoy. And I posted that I thought the convoy was a psyop yesterday. And I even like prefaced in my caption, in my narrative, I was like, listen, a psyop, it's not, I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not saying that it's good or it's bad. I think that's for the individual to decide. It's just a psychological operation. They're trying to inception something. They're trying to convey some sort of emotional reaction or intelligence in some way to us. And people lost their ever loving, like, I literally say that everything is a psyop. You would think that you would know what that means by now. But if it's a psyop that affects you or that you are personally emotively involved in, people just like, ooh, the criticism, you know? I want to be like, you guys, you can tell me that you disagree with me without calling me fucking stupid or like just like so much like hatred in the comments. I was like, just when I think that like we're nailing a lesson and we're ascending higher, we still cannot communicate to each other whatsoever. Opinion on the convoy.
I feel like the convoy is kind of like Q or kind of like the insurrection in the way that it doesn't matter what it started out as, it's real as fuck now. It's real right now.
Psyops are real. Saying a psyop doesn't mean something's fake.
But like, I mean, for whatever reason they started out, I think even the narrative of like, let's start it out this way, let's block off these things, let's raise money for something we don't know about, even whatever narratives are even taken, even let's say the psyop of Q, let's say, or even because even for the good, even if Q is exactly what you think it is in all the good ways, even if you're the biggest Q supporter, that's still a psychological operation to wake a whole bunch of people up to information. So with the convoy, my whole thing that I keep pushing is, if the truckers are the lifeblood of our countries, if we know they provide all the goods and medical services and all of the supplies and the water and food, especially things that we need to get through a cold winter, if those people are going to be out of work for a few weeks and you want this to happen because you want the ants to rise up, then you have to be aware that your shelves are going to become empty, and you have to be prepared for people not to be able to show up. If you're wanting them to protest, their protest is not bringing you your goods and services. So it's not going to be the Walmart truckers, and it's not going to be the Amazon truckers, and it's not going to be the Wayfair truckers that are doing these protests. It's going to be your mom and pop truckers and all the things providing the businesses that have been the businesses, if they are the ones that are still open, that have been fighting tooth and nail to stay open, and they need all their supplies to come in. So if those things aren't going to be coming into those businesses, we just all have to be prepared on the next level as people to be able to, and this is what hold the line would mean to me. very quickly, when your kid doesn't have formula in your cupboard, or you don't have enough food to feed your kids, or your electricity is getting turned off because gas isn't being ran to the appropriate place, or now you can't get to work because your car isn't getting, once you start flipping and calling, when it was feel good of freedom for a week, it was feel good of freedom for 2 weeks to stand for this protest, and now your cupboards are empty, and now you're calling those same truckers who drove out there for you terrorists. That's what we can't do again. Like, if
And
we're
that's what they're
here,
setting it up
they're
for.
setting it up here. So I feel like the only thing I can do is, because like I'm a domestic terrorist insurrectionist, and I watched it all go down of being a part of one. I watched what happened. I watched my fellow friends and conspiracy theorists and quote unquote truthers all flip on me and be like, oh, even though they were the ones that all told me, oh, I wish I could go. I would go there for me too. You're going there for all of us. And then they're the same ones all doing shows about how look how easy this was. And this was a whole narrative. And it was just for this fake reason and blah, blah, blah. No, it's because you guys let the narrative change. You guys dropped the ball on us. We didn't drop the ball. We all showed up and did our part, but then we all forgot what we were showed up for because the election was stolen to begin with. And we all got caught up in the narrative of the buffalo and the shaman and the whatever of it all. But the narrative was we showed up because this other thing was going down. But so that's what I feel like with the truckers. Don't let them steal the narrative this time. If this is why they're showing up, but the only way that happens is for people to be prepared to feed their families.
Like what the consequences are. And I guess I would also like to note that for us, especially people who have been in the Q movement for a very long time, everything's at times seems life or death. Everything seems like this is the one pivotal moment, and we get to that kind of line and then we realize it's not, and then we like kind of move on to something else. And so I want people to realize that, like, I know that this feels really life or death. Like, I had so many Canadian followers that were in my DMs last night that were giving me hateful, mean comments because I was calling this a psyop, as if that made their struggle any less real, as if it made like the internal battle we're fighting, the external battle we're fighting, all of that like less real. No, I'm just saying everything is presented to us in a very specific, strategic manner. They're not just like willy-nilly doing shit at this point. It's all, the movie is progressing in the exact manner as it was intended. So if we like take a step back, we become less emotive about it. We don't like personally involve ourselves in it and just try to see something for what it is. For me, this could just be a small building block in a narrative. So like if we look at this as not life or death, but we see what you're talking about. So we start this discussion. Obviously, a lot of people like to talk about this is the precursor to driverless trucks and driverless delivery and that kind of thing. And then somebody
because
will make
they're going to make everyone so mad at the truckers that they're going to say, do you want them to have this freedom to do this again? We can guarantee that this will never be able to happen again.
But I'm just saying, like, that component of it, like this, people are saying it's about driverless trucks. And then the next comment is like, well, that technology is 5, 10, 15 years away.
It was 10 years ago.
But this is still a building block in that narrative, because this is maybe like the first reaction of a chain reaction. Now we see things for what they are and we see them so clearly, and everything becomes life or death, and it has to be this or it has to be that. But for the normie, the NPC, like this is just like a trickle down effect. Like this thing is going to cause them to like come back at some point, the same way that you're talking now. Everything is about creating this like perpetual conflict. If you and I can't have a conversation about the rhetoric surrounding it, like we're still like falling into that loose trap. Like we might not be the one angry about it in the street, but like, I don't know. It's there's just a reason why things are happening. And I always go back to like, if it was on The Simpsons and it's an Illuminati card game, it's a part of that, then like, you guys, come on.
The other one that I find interesting is one side calling for the death of Rogan, and the other people are like, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. And then that same people yelling freedom of speech are like chanting, yay, Whoopi's gone.
Like, you can't have Rogan and cancel Whoopi.
Like it's the same.
That you're not evolving if that's your way of thinking. Like anybody who wants Whoopi to go on this like 2 week hiatus, if you congratulated that in some way, you were part of the problem, because that's just something that they do to sweep this under the rug. We're on a 24-hour news cycle. 2 weeks from now, nobody who watches The View will remember that, and we'll be on to the next one. When in reality, they could have kept her on, held her accountable, and had someone to do some education on how to the Jews being a Jew is part of like race, their race.
And you know what's so weird about the statements of Whoopi? If you dissect them in the conspiracy mindset, so many of them are so fucking true. So many things she said during that whole statement was like, oh my God.
Like, well, the Holocaust was kind of a psyop, so let's talk about it, baby.
Well, she's like, it wasn't just about race. And it sure wasn't. It wasn't just, it was pink triangles and stuff on people too. It was religion all on people too. It was like all sorts of stuff, not just Stars of David, and not just Stars of David that didn't have to do with religion. It wasn't just about race. Like they should have just popped that can of worms on right then. Whoopi, if a black lady can't question the Holocaust, who can? Who can?
Can we also talk about the irony of her name being Whoopi Goldberg, which is like one of the most Jewish names you could ever select when changing your name to be in Hollywood?
I'll be like, about it.
Bitch, your fucking boyfriend from Cheers back in the day wore blackface.
Well, Whoopi's worn whiteface.
And he sat on your lap, and you named yourself Whoopi Goldberg to make it easier for you to be an actress in Hollywood.
Today it just dawned on me in that same way that I was like, I wanted to just scream or like unplug myself from like, all right, like sit up in the pink ooze, because the absurdity of the name Magic Johnson just fucking got me.
Can we talk about the absurdity of Whoopi Goldberg too? Like both of those names. I have AIDS and my name is Magic Johnson, and I got it from having too much unprotected sex. My Magic Johnson, that I don't actually exhibit any of the symptoms because I'm, the elite.
32. Yeah, Magic Johnson, but
Bizarro
Whoopi
world.
Goldberg, fart. Like, is that a laugh?
Fart Jew.
I'm not. Alex, write that down.
I'm just saying, like, it's so absurd. Like, why did nobody get on there and say,
I wish I could just turn my face to the Punisher logo and just put dead. That's what I'd use it for. Like anytime I was gonna laugh so hard I blushed, I would be like, dead Punisher logo.
Shoo.
Oh, that was a showstopper.
I have this crazy laugh I do sometimes. I'm getting on the verge of doing it. It gets a little like high pitched.
Oh, you even put crazy eyes when you almost.
Oh, Ramona.
Is that your drunk alter ego?
No, I just made a Real Housewives reference, and then I immediately realized that you don't watch Real Housewives, so strike that from the record.
Only Lisa Vanderpump.
All
for
right.
the Isaac Cappy of it all.
Anybody got any good questions for us?
And do you have questions?
No, not yet. Somebody just said, how did I never see the Magic Johnson one before?
I seen it forever, but just the absurdity hit me like a ton of bricks today. I was watching some Nickelodeon documentary and he was sitting with kids that were crying about having AIDS. And it was just like, and look how special Magic Johnson is in this moment. And I'm like, a dude named Magic Johnson sitting around a bunch of children talking about the perils of having AIDS on Nickelodeon. What was this whole Nickelodeon? The whole entire network was as much of a psyop as MTV, maybe worse. Like, it might have been worse for us as an entire generation than any of the other networks combined. And we don't even realize it. Even the first 3 cartoons on Nickelodeon, Doug, the Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, fantastic shows. I don't know what you're about to say.
Those are such psyops. Like, all 3 of them, even look at the perversity and what the things they were talking about as like, oh, and the infant baby comes to life and now he's really smart. And they're talking about all these really adult things. They were all like totally manipulative and MK Ultra and grooming kids into kind of darker stuff. Even the humor, even the Keenan and Kat. I think everything about the program, Pinwheel, that is, even a pinwheel spinning around is hypnotism.
I just gotta tell you though, like I loved Doug Funny, and I will sing "Banging on a Trash Can," "Drumming on a Street Light" for the rest of time. Do you remember that song?
No, because I'm sure that your Nickelodeon phase was different than mine.
What was yours like?
My Nickelodeon phase was like Pinwheel, Picture Page with Bill Cosby. There was a show called 15 with Ryan Reynolds on it.
Do you know what?
Welcome Freshmen.
HV and I were talking about on the podcast I'm about to put out is how like Mickey Mouse Club was essentially just like MK Ultra Ground Zero. Like, think about all of those kids: Brittany, Christina, Justin, Ryan, not Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Gosling,
Carrie Russell.
Mm-hmm. Just like MK Ultra, like beta sex kitten conditioning.
And then we were talking about the shape of MM is really 3-3. Mm-hmm. So it's like Mickey Mouse of it all. They put it in everything. Club 33.
But you know what I was thinking? The swirl and how we are aware of its implications as a symbol of being a pedo. But I also think about, like, I was watching Contact today, and when the alien signal first comes in, they're trying to decipher it. They're trying to figure out what it is, and they start realizing that it's like almost like Morse code, but it's numbers. And so when I first watched it, in my head for a moment, I was like, oh, I bet this is about to be Fibonacci numbers. And then I think it ended up to just be prime numbers that the alien was communicating in. But I thought about Fibonacci for that moment and how like the 369 is the swirl. And we don't ever talk about that. Like, automatically when we see the swirl, we're saying like pedo, 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 the same way that when people see 666, they're like, oh, that's satanic. And it could only be satanic. And sometimes I like to post things and tell people, like, it's only satanic if you believe it is. Like, 666 is not inherently anything. It's like, it could be good, it could be bad. It depends on how you're manifesting and using it. And so then I was thinking about the same thing in the swirl, because we see Fibonacci like that everywhere.
I could be like, the swirl is one of the most ancient symbols, and it has something to do with like infinity or something with the universe. But always the symbols are stolen and then bastardized. I think when there's a real magic in a symbol, they call it something racist. So I don't know for sure, but I know, but you can look up the swastika exists in every single religion, every single culture, every single land throughout the beginning of time as like a really sacred symbol. And I want to say it has something to do with Orion. I could be wrong, but it has something to do with the stars. Like, it goes down an exact chart of the stars. And I would think if there was a real magic in things, the elite or powers that be would steal it from us, call it racist, sexist, homophobic, perverse. Whatever, perverse it, and then we would never want to touch it. So I think another symbol they're doing with that currently is the Dixie flag. I think there's real flag magic. I think there's symbols all across flags, and some flags come down and some flags go up, and some flags are stamped with seals, and it all matters for a reason. The color is the everything. And so there's something about the Capitals when they were fighting all about that has to come down. That's a hateful thing. It really isn't. And it's not to sound ignorant of the heritage, not hate, but you can look at the Dixie flag goes through every single
It's
race.
about states' rights. Like they took the Civil War and that type of revolution and they made it perverse and made it about race. Was it about race? Yes, there were components. Was slavery a bad thing? I'm not downgrading that or taking away from that whatsoever. But really, the war was about like the Federalists versus the anti-Federalists and states' rights and big government. And it's the same fucking battle that we're having now. The Dixie flag stands for that. The Confederacy stands for much more than slavery. That's just a way
I
that
feel
they
like Texas has their
perverted
own flag, like called Bluebell or something. Like every state that's ever had a citizens militia or army or revolution, sometimes states have broken off. Like each state has their own history, and there is this sovereign flag in each state. Like it's pretty interesting. Must matter.
You have to really understand that we are 50 United States and we all have our own laws. And for all intents and purposes, we are 50 countries who choose to unite as one under the United States American federal government. But really, we're our own sovereign states and we can do whatever the fuck we want. We just succumb to the government.
So much perspective is important too. I think everyone should do this. All these countries that you always hear about on the news all the time, and you always think like America, Canada, America, Australia, America, Germany, America, whatever. Look at any other country's population, and any of those countries I just named is less probably than the population of California. Like any one of them. So the concept sometimes when we think about like when you take Canada, yeah, there's all vast different people. But overall, the climate of Canada, what you need to live in that place is all pretty similar. There might be city and there might be country, but it's all fucking cold. Most of it's wilderness. It's a type of environment, a type of person that lives there. And there's less people that live there than the one state of California. Our country is 50 Canadas. It's the concept that we would all have the same thoughts, or that we would even begin to need to have the same thoughts. How can a person in Iowa know what a person in Florida needs to get by? And same being said for a person in Washington state. Like, how can any of those people conceptualize the fuck other people need financially, under an emergency situation? Like what we might be able to survive would, like if we told you, oh my God, you guys, we got 3 inches of snow last night, that would be an emergency situation in Florida. You know, where if I said the same thing to somebody in Tennessee, you're like, bitch, you better get out your driveway and get to work on time. You know, it's like,
no, Tennessee would be about the same, but like somewhere like Wisconsin or Montana, they're not going to have any empathy for us. But at the same time, like I have to say, you know, it only snows in Tennessee a handful of times per year and we can't fucking handle it. And if it snowed for you guys would go crazy.
And so it's just like the people of each state need to understand the things of each state. But that's why you vote in people at local levels, because they understand your town better. But I almost think that's why the puppet show so far up here, you know, what's the only thing past Biden Trump puppet show? Talking about fucking Trudeau and the Queen of England. It's like, if we can even go further back here and talk about prime ministers, the countries and wars that don't even affect us at all, then our milk is just going up $1 every week in the store. And guess who, what? We're not going to any of our governors about it. We're not going to any of our mayors about it. We're not picketing and showing up anywhere about it. We're like, oh my God, did you guys hear Kamala Parker Bowles can be the queen now? And I'm up in arms. Like, what timeline is this?
I never thought, I mean, I know that the queen made the decree, but I was always raised. Okay, we've talked about this before. You and I both come from a timeline where I always thought the crown was going to go straight to William, that because Charles had been divorced, which I guess doesn't make sense in the Henry VIII of it all. But for some reason, I always thought that it could not go down to Charles, that it was going to be William.
But didn't Henry VIII stay married to his wife? And that's why Anne Boleyn was illegitimate. Didn't they like never get married or shit?
No,
I always,
because he got married He had 8 wives.
Oh yeah. But it was like he had to make some weird shisty deal. Oh,
I
that's why
mean,
he
it
had to
was he broke
decapitate
up
them
the
all.
fucking Catholic Church.
Yeah.
He started the Protestant Revolution because he wanted to get his dick wet with somebody new. When really he had syphilis and was one of the reasons why he was going crazy.
Syphilis sure took out a lot of it. Almost was like the first shaming they did to people. Be like, yep, and he caught syphilis at the end.
Think of what a dirty time that must have been. Just on like a smell basis.
Everywhere.
Dirty.
Everything.
I watched some little reel showing like what it took for a woman to get dressed in like the 18th or 19th century, like all the layers and the petticoats and like putting the bump on your butt so you'd have this like huge circle around you. Like, what were those bitches doing when it was 90 degrees outside?
Now they just get that bump sewn right under their flesh.
Now we call that a BBL.
Yeah, is that so crazy? The same exact look of then is the same body shape of now.
How
They're just
interesting.
it's that same look too. That woman that's like leaned over with the umbrella
With just a huge
in
junk
her
in the trunk.
and so much laces, like an elephant walked in the other direction to tighten her corset, and she's like walking out like breaking her back. Like we always talk about geishas and we're like, look how they bind their feet. And I'm like, have you seen what American women have done to their rib cages over the years?
True. Why do we do it? Why?
I don't know. Even high heels. But I will say, if you haven't put on high heels and done it, you don't know this. But when you watch somebody do it on stage, you're like, holy shit, how does Beyonce drop it like that? And in heels. You always add the and in heels, but the heels make it fucking easier to drop and get back up. Way easier than just like sneakers in your flat feet.
I love a heel, and like I've had this dream of having like fancy designer shoes one day, like my whole life. Like one day I'm gonna buy all the brands and like have my pretty woman moment that I've always wanted to have. And I remember somebody being when I was young being like, there's gonna come a time when like you won't want to wear heels anymore. And I was just like, like you don't get it, okay? I'll always want to wear heels. And now I'm like, can I wear my Adidas out to the bar? Like,
Yeah.
I can't handle it anymore.
I am Chucks and Vans girl all day, but don't ask me. I dress like a 15-year-old boy most of the time.
I either have like a huge wedge or an Air Force One. That's where I'm at these days.
I never ever wore a pair of Nikes except like cleats playing the sport. But I've always
What
been like
sports did you play
skater
when you were
girl.
little?
I'm a lesbian, all the sports.
I'm not a lesbian and I played all the sports too.
All the
Though.
sports. A real conversation that I had one day. One of the only things that my dad ever was like, nope, no, because I wanted to go out for the football team in junior high school. And my dad was like, no, no. So, yeah. Now looking back at it, just with how I feel now, with how many sports I've played, I'm so glad I didn't need that head injury or neck injury or jolt.
Have you seen the video going around that Nuremberg 2.0 is allegedly begun? It's like some opening statement by somebody. I've seen it, but I haven't been able to verify. Let me rephrase that. I haven't chosen to attempt to verify anything, but it just looked a little off to me.
And they say like a lot of people are indicted in it, from Fauci to Gates to, you know, all this, and no one's talking about it. People have sent it to me too. I don't think I've reposted it unless I have just in my stories. Um, but I can't verify it either. I haven't looked too deep. Not because I don't want to, just because I'm like, I can't. I have to, like, my bridge forward cannot be on hopes and dates. And to me, the law works slow. If we're really here right now in the New World Order board game, and more people are woke than the demon ever thought would be, I just am, whatever little part I'm gonna do is this part.
Can you just
forward.
like call me when somebody's indicted? You know, like, and until then, I don't really care.
Did we ever get anything else about Ghislaine?
No, she hasn't had her sentencing hearing yet. To my
Is that usually
understanding.
that long?
Okay, so I just did a change of plea with one of my defendants in federal court, not last week, but the week before. And we set the sentencing hearing for April 19th or something like that. So it should be probably this month or March. And if it doesn't happen in that time, then it's a little sus.
I wouldn't be surprised if it 222s us. Everything seems like it's coming to all the dates seem to be lining up. And speaking of a 2-2 date, didn't you say that Travis Scott Institute and Kylie Jenner had their baby?
Yes, Kylie Jenner announced today that she had her second child on 2/2/22, which is a day after she had her daughter 4 years ago. And then I also saw that Kourtney Kardashian, her eldest son and her youngest son were born on the same day. So I think that's so interesting for both of them. Obviously, like I don't think there's anything organic about them getting pregnant. I think it's all very contrived. But that just seemed like a ritual in some way with like the 2/2/22 of it all.
There is a goddess. I'm trying to see if I can find it quick to give you her actual name. But there used to be tribes back when, and the women were so precise before there was a bunch of weird big pharma and weird drugs and chemicals being shoved in us all the time. We were so precise with our menstruation period that it wasn't about the day of delivery. Even the time you would carry your child was so fucking precise, and they knew it by the stars, that it wasn't about the birth date. It was your conception date, and you were such a like magic witch that you could plan it. And so the elders, the women in the village, I think some men too, they would sit in this chair like above, and they would almost link up the fertile women with the men, and then they would all like inseminate on the same day at the same times under these certain rituals. And so then they would all give birth on the same day. And so in one of these rituals, the big day that they gave birth was 12/25. And they would then sacrifice those babies in the springtime.
Oh shit.
Isn't it crazy? Like somewhere I think this shit is happening. Like we have no idea, even planning dates of things, even if we want to talk about like horrific things of abortions or births, we have no idea what the hospital allows and doesn't allow for a doctor to come in and be able to, especially if you can induce. So if really ritual and days matter, and you could mess with inductions or getting rid of kids that were
That's when they're having the Aleister Crowley people are having the moon children. Allegedly Hillary Clinton was a moon child. The daughter Luna of Chrissy Teigen and what's his face is supposedly a moon child. I just wanted to note that Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing hearing is on June 28th.
Damn. They put that shit out there all the way in the summer. So we're not going to even hear. So hopefully they're like giving her a long time to sit so that hopefully she gives up some names in between.
I don't believe that. I think it's a psyop, but
we don't even know if she's real, to be honest. We saw one picture of her at an In-N-Out burger however long ago, and then everything else has been a drawing, right?
Right.
And we don't even know if that picture at the In-N-Out burger,
everything's fake.
Well, the more that they keep showing us, that's what I do like that you're putting on the oracles, all the masked men.
Oh my God, somebody was being such a little bitch about that today, saying that I post too much stuff about that. And I'm like, no, these are fake people. We have to keep calling out the fake people. I need to keep telling you that these people are fake.
And it's not really, it's a jukebox of ideas. It's a jukebox of philosophies. It's a jukebox of weird. It's a jukebox of things. You may agree with so much of it. This is the problem that I have with people, is that they just have it's like we can disagree and we can still hang out. Like we can disagree and still maybe we'll totally agree on the next thing, or we can have a discourse about not agreeing and it's whatever.
Right. Here's my narrative about these people used to be, look at the mask, look at this, look at the teeth, template, clone, CGI, going through all the possibilities. And while that is still part of my conversation, because I don't know what it is, the way I'm spinning it now, which I think is more interesting, is okay, we observe the mask on Pompeo, the literal line that looks fake. But if you're the elite and you're the architects and you have the makeup artist of makeup artists, the CGI people of CGI, you have the best of the best that fake money could fucking buy. Wouldn't your game be on fleek? Wouldn't it be so on point that you couldn't decipher what was going on? And so now I'm saying, observe the fakeness, observe how fucked up this is. I don't care if it's a clone or CGI or a mask or whatever. Why is it so obvious? Why are they allowing us to observe this right now? Like, is the guard really breaking down? Like, do we really have that discernful of an eye? Is this intentional, or are they being negligent?
When was the last time you watched all the like, I've been re-looking into the Boston bombing again, because I think everybody should. Chris Kyle, the whole entire situation. I even think the logo's curious. But everything about that to me is a false flag operation, all completely set up, all from the inside, almost in the exact same way that there'd be a private contractor to go to war. These guys went into our cities and kind of set off an event that had a chain reaction of things. People die in false flags. It's not the issue. The thing is they always seem to look alike with their fatigues and their book bags and their things. And they're a type. They're the same type that everybody mocks now when they're like, hey, we were at this event and look at the pictures of these guys. And people will be like, agents, agents,
like FBI, Fed.
Yeah. And so it's like, now, if to me, the future proves the past, we've all been to these rallies. We've all been to these events. Look at your pictures. Look at your videos. That's not your little selfish mug and your little selfie. Look around at what you thought you were taking a picture of, because those same people are all there. So I'm like, why don't everybody that was at these places start putting their videos together and finding these same people? Because all these places, I think a lot of the time there's a lot more false flags that don't go off. I think there's those too. Like, it's just like, oh, we didn't need this today. We don't like we all can agree the queen's dead. They just don't need it yet. It's not, they don't need to take the media cycle from anything. So
it's on deck.
Yeah.
They will use it when it's needed. But my question is just, why does everything seem so sloppy? The sloppiness is intentional, in my opinion. So, like, why are they allowing it for us to observe that sloppiness?
Has it always been that sloppy, though?
Right.
Remember, like, the building 7 fell in the background when the lady was talking, and everyone's like, wait, that can't happen. That fell ahead of time. That was right behind you.
So they are infallible in some ways, or they're not infallible in some ways.
But in the same way, what are the chances she was filming at a window in real time when the building went down? It's like, no, the CGI green screen probably still, even back then, went off a little too weirdly early. It's like, look at how many people look into 9/11 now and they're like, I don't even know if the planes were real.
Well, I think what's so interesting, I think HV did this thread where that very famous picture of the man falling out and you see him in the reflection.
Hangman, yes. Oddly enough.
She did a thread where they broke down measuring that picture and then extrapolating that and comparing that to how tall that individual would be. And he was going to be like 7 or 7.5 feet tall. It's like, just based on this alone, this is not a real picture.
And it was like the picture that was shown on the front of every magazine to like get like, can you guys put yourself in the emotive state of what it would take to jump out of a burning building that high to your death? That's what we all want you to feel, loosh.
Mm-hmm. Loosh in perpetuity. Anytime anyone looks at that picture, They go down their hall of mirrors and they go to that moment and they know how they felt that day and they know where they were when they heard that the first tower was hit.
I
And it's a
do.
loose loop over
Yeah.
and over and over again.
Yeah. And that's just one of the days and one of the things that there could have been so much CGI involved over. But it's like those are the events I think we need to start going back to. And for me, when you look at those events, you look at Sandy Hook, you look at 9/11, you look at the Vegas shooting, you look at San Bernardino, you look at 9/9, you look at 7/7. When you start going through these things, if they were just a board game and we were to write down rules, they're all the same. They're all the same rules. It's the pattern. You're creating patterns, like you're seeing patterns in your brain. But I like to go back and look at those because it's like I'm so many layers deep now that I see new things that I'm like, oh, what if this now, or this key player, or look at this position in government I never even paid attention. What are they doing now? Who's running that position now? And you can see these like little trickle effects through that no one talks about, that are never voted in, that seemingly have more power than any president because they're in power during all the presidents.
Liz says that the Queen is going out with the Pope on 2/22/22. Liz, we're going to find you and see what happens on that day. How many days is that? 8?
Dude, they're going to kill
16
them.
days away. They're already dead.
They're both dead. That's a perfect day to kill them both and then blame it on some terrorist organization.
Think how long they would talk about the Pope and the Queen dying on the same day.
Mhm. Especially by a terrorist event, like something we could go to war with, like Putin or the House of Saud.
We got to talk about that thing I said about Putin, and I think it resonated with you. So, you guys, I don't know if you know this, but the Kremlin has an Instagram. Oh, Presidente Putin. And if you go to the Instagram, Gen Z is literally all over it, like, Putin daddy, don't invade Ukraine. Putin daddy, like, put that bomb away. And I think the problem, you and I were having this discussion about like the problems in the movement and the people who can't see Q for what it is. Like, I love Q. Don't get me wrong about Q. Q's my boy, my AI basilisk, like home that I want to come back to, that taught me everything. But I feel like there are Americans at this point that would say, trust the plan, allow Putin to invade the United States. And they would be like, it's okay. It's all part of the plan. And if that's where we're at, something is severely wrong with us.
We are 100% in a place, I think, where most of the people that fly a Canadian or US flag above their house, because those seem to be representing the same thing right now energetically, that those people would welcome Putin over Trudeau or Biden. You are like without
Like,
question.
Putin daddy, please come rule us. And that is a problem.
Glad the impale me.
I gotta find this account that I follow on my personal account, and it's called like Laugh at This Russian or something like that. And it's just like weird Russian people like doing stuff on Instagram. It's really funny.
I used to follow like Russian Twitter adrenaline junkies, and they also have YouTube videos, and they go and they like on those huge high cranes above buildings, and then they crawl out with just their hands to the end of it and then just free hang with like a GoPro on their head. I don't know.
That's some wild shit. Okay, the account's called at Look at This Russian, like all together. And it's so silly, but it's so funny. I highly recommend. And then what's the old Kremlin?
With a K.
His new account is Putin, period, Kremlin, period, RU. Please, Vladdy Daddy, don't start a war. Vladdy Daddy, no war. Please, don't start a war. Stepdaddy, oh my God, Vladdy.
Stepdaddy. You know what that means. They have a
What?
real daddy. And you know who that is? The
Trump
OG
daddy?
Trump
Trump
daddy.
daddy.
Because if anytime anyone calls Vlad stepdaddy, it's
Please
because
no
Trump
war,
is the
stepdaddy.
daddy. Yeah. Because daddy's not home. So they'll take Vlad as their stepdaddy.
Listen to this. Stop the war. We are too young for this. This is not you, Putin.
I like how you're saying it in your voice. I
Somebody
even
goes,
like your full, like you should have double handed your mic then.
God, somebody's gonna take a fucking
That
screenshot
was
of
it.
that. The gangs are gonna use that against me. Be like, no. It's like
It's going to be Putin's.
you
You putting it on.
you aren't you when you're hungry. Oh, daddy, Putin, you aren't a Discord kitten. I can meow for you. What do you think? Like the Russian like consultants and like media people are just like, sir, we don't understand. You have 649 comments, all from Americans, all in the 18 to 24 range, having some version of calling you their father.
Putin's like, come in. What do you think the ramifications will be worldwide of the invasion of Ukraine? I don't know. The American ladies seem to love it.
The American kids seem to love you.
You're really high ranking right now with the American kids. You and Neil Patrick Harris, sir. We think we can get you to do the Grammys next year if you'd like to host.
Hashtag Vladdy Daddy is trending on Twitter. Kremlin.
Good. Get my white horse. I want to take a shirtless stroll on the beach.
Daddy, stop. It's so big. No war, Vladdy. Daddy, please. Just what a world. What a world.
Chelsea
we live
Handler
in.
went through a thing where she was flirting with Vladimir Putin.
For real?
Not like in real life, but like on her show when she used to have Chelsea Go Lately or whatever. Chelsea Lately.
Interesting.
Chelsea's an interesting one. I think entertainment television, like Nickelodeon, like MTV, is so we're all young. They put this network on. One of the flagship shows that I think all of us grew up watching is Howard Stern, that half hour that was on after 11. That was
I did
pretty.
not.
Your mom did good stuff to you. She was like, you don't need to be watching that. If you would have known what was on
My
there.
mother let me watch Rocky Horror Picture Show at the age of 5. This was just like,
dude, if you would have found the Howard Stern show, you probably wouldn't have left your bedroom. You would have been like, oh my God, this is because it was so sexual for kids back then. And they had, of course, the Kardashians on there. And all those kind of where they talk souped us. So they took all those talk shows and put it in that format. So all of a sudden we knew every single talk show host. Like it was kind of the thing that made Oprah the queen of all the talk shows.
well, they took all of us who grew up on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, and then we transitioned into MTV and TRL, and then we transitioned into like that entertainment Bravo type situation.
And they knew that whole, it almost is like the Kardashians from conception knew they were even going to transition Bruce on us. Like from conception.
Oh, that was part of it. But you have to understand, like, they transitioned Bruce and then Kanye running for office and Bruce running for office are all tests. And you're going to hear this on my next podcast coming out with HV. They are going to run Kim Kardashian for president. They are priming her for that. She is going to law school for that. She is doing criminal justice for that. And she is going to be the next Reagan.
She just freed people. She's already freed people. She's already has an in with all the
she's a humanitarian
that they need. And
they
have this little card in their back sleeve is that she is from a genocided people. So she can pull this out at any time. That it's something that you've never heard the Kardashians talk about yet. But anytime they want to pull out that Armenian sword and drop bombs on any other race for accusing them of anything, it's hard to compete with what the Armenians had to deal with. Like
2 or 3 or 4 election cycles from now, she will be running for president. Her arc will be complete. And it's really interesting to that actor arc, that Reagan arc. And then I also think it's really interesting that Kris Jenner is emulating, now that Pam and Tommy are back in the news, Pamela Anderson's character they're using was a test subject almost for Kim.
I'm so glad you said that. I think so completely, even down to the sex tape psyop of it all. I think the sex tape is a psyop.
I think even the retelling sure, the like glorifying one part of the body, the separating from the sexualness, the manipulating the body thereafter. Like, let's talk about Pam and her like relationship with Julian Assange. You know,
Thank
it's
you.
just
all this. Pam was already political. She was already doing things. And where's Pam from? She's a proud Canadian. I think we always have these certain few celebrities that are super big in the zeitgeist that are always from Canada, that are always holding this huge spot in American pop culture. And you don't ever hear, like, you think in your head, Pam Anderson, all American girl, but that isn't the case at all. And even the Tommy Lee thing, even the setup of the Motley Crew of it all, like, there's no different to me when you take that hairband off Sunset Boulevard and Laurel Canyon hippie movement. They're both created movements, and
they're both alt.
Same, the gangster rap of NWA. Those three movements are all CIA created movements. All three of those. Same as, alternative music out of
But
CIA.
even like the Pam and Tommy Lee and now the Kim and Pete, like it's so similar at all these different junctions. But yeah, my prediction, she will run for president.
Haven't the Kardashians dropped the OJ bomb?
I don't know.
They could overcome it without question. But it is like
an avoidant discussion.
Like, she loses the Kardashian name. Like, she would lose, like, okay, I lost my dad's last name. I'm not a Kardashian, but neither are your two little sisters. So we've already overcome that. So,
but you can do the whole stepdaddy narrative that we were just
Chris is
about.
The monster. We all know Chris is the real bloodline that's keeping this whatever witch thing going.
Supposedly they come from witches. That there's a discussion that goes that a great grandmother or something like that made a deal with the devil and like did a sacrifice, and like the story goes that like all of the women would rise to fame, but like they would basically be eating the men in response.
Black widows, like absorbing their power and just moving on. It's even from the basketball player narrative to give them like this Beyonce, Jay-Z street cred. And now they're all turning to this, like, okay, we need to like steer in because this is this younger generation of kids. So even like they're really Travis Scott and Pete Davidson on a cutout of character aren't too far off different from each other. They're both this like tattooed. We got this like whole mumbly,
where like
Mac Millery.
You don't look in the mirror, like anti-authority, anti-establishment, don't like my picture. Like, I think that's interesting, the thing that Travis Scott does where he like doesn't look into the camera, like he doesn't look you directly in the eye. It's just interesting why they do that.
He's an oddo. He's an odd person for sure. And when I see people that are so young and so odd, I'm like, what is up here? Like, usually it takes age to like really contour your weirdness. Like,
it takes age normally to like become one with your weirdness and be like, willing to like proffer that to the world.
That's the weirdest. That's my favorite.
Everyone should embrace their weird, though.
Someone settles into their most weird self. It's my fave.
Maybe like 10 more minutes and then I gotta go because I have to get up early for bed or early for court in the morning.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Any questions from the class?
But I do think maybe you should do this regular, and then all the weird stuff you post in the week, it'll give them a chance to talk about it, or you can answer questions from it that are on there. Or you can even answer with, I'm going to talk about this on my podcast Sunday. You've been the third person to ask me this, and now I obviously need to talk about it more.
Definitely. I just want to remind everyone that we can disagree respectfully with each other, and we should be nice.
You know what else is cool sometimes? When we disagree now, but then like a month from now, we totally agree. Or I'm like, oh my God, you were so right about this. I
And that's
didn't know
okay.
it then.
It's not a winning and losing thing, you know?
Yeah. I admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong or if I change my mind. We should be free to change our mind. That's the whole thing too, though. We all thought we were once we were in our camp, we had to cement our shoes. Those were our ideas. Now I have to be Scott Peterson and not throw my baby in the water with my wife. Dude, I've been watching the Scott and Lacey Peterson thing. The media just totally set that dude up. And when you look into the whole Lacey Peterson death, totally they were just killing pregnant ladies and doing ritual abuse.
Oh, shit.
And they were burying it. And it coincides right along the same time that George Bush was doing sketchy stuff in Iraq the whole time. So anytime the medium was about to talk about something, it was always Lacey and Scott, Lacey and Scott.
If you go back and you analyze every time that Britney Spears went crazy in the 06, 07, 08 narrative, it all coincides with times when Bush was bad in the news.
Ooh, I have a theory.
There's a whole thing I've read about that.
I have a theory called every president has a pop star. And so every president has a direct link to one specific pop star that you can line everything up in, that every time they're in the news, it's just to take away kerfluffle or whatever is going on in the White House. And so it's like when you look at these Madonnas and Lady Gaga's and Britney Spears's and Marilyn Monroe, any of these blonde
Lady Gaga's.
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
I don't know what kind of spell she's trying to make me say with that name. Lady Gaga.
Somebody said, what is on your background? Is that a bunny or a pony? It is a bunny and a butterfly.
Yeah, it's all the MK Ultra. It's all the MK Ultra symbolism. Transmuted.
Ooh, Ariel, I love this question. Okay, I don't know what this is called, but I believe in it, and I think it means that I'm special. But she asked, does anyone else have lights go on and off when they drive or walk under them? This happens all the time. Yes, it happens to me. I think my stepdad is communicating with me from the dead, actually, when this happens, but I notice it all the time. And whenever I see it, I'm like, this is good juju. My energy is fucking with the light, or the light is fucking with me.
This 100% happens to me. I don't know why, but I equate it energetically to the exact same thing that's going on in me when I'm walking behind someone in a grocery store and they drop something. Like energetically, sometimes when I'm just behind people, they drop things. Like they don't even see me. It's not because it's like, oh shit. It's not because I'm startling them. It's just like whatever's going on around my field makes them fumble. And I feel like it makes the circuit fumble. I had a friend who I haven't talked to in a while, but I always thought this was like the best piece of advice I'd heard with that phenomenon. Go back around and turn it back on.
Ooh.
Like once you really are getting in control of your energy, like right when it turns off, usually you're like, oh shit, I just did that. And it like wakes you up for a moment.
I go around stuff and it like turns on, turns off, turns on, turns off.
Oh, mine always, it'll flick off. Like I'll turn off street lights, like pink, 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 pink. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'll point it out to somebody. I've done it more than once where I'm like, I turn off street lights when I drive. And they're like, really? And I'm like, tink. And they're like, holy shit. And I'm like, even me pointing it out, it doesn't feel like sometimes when I feel like things are a parlor trick or I'm trying to do one of my superpowers as like a party, like, hey, everyone, pay attention to me. It doesn't work. But with that one, it usually, if we were to go to the grocery store and I'm like, I make people drop things. It's like, there's something about like energetically, I just know it's going to happen. And it's like,
so one of my favorite moments of manifestation for me is or kind of just like a synchronicity from the universe. I was at the grocery store and it was summer. It was last summer. And I do this thing sometimes where I'll grill a peach and then I'll make like this like cinnamon yogurt with it, and it's like a dessert for
Yum.
me. And I thought about it. I go through the checkout line and I realized like I didn't get any peaches, and I was kind of like annoyed with myself, and I wasn't going to go back and get it. So I like get done shopping. I go through like the double doors into that little lobby area where you get the shopping carts. And right there in the middle of the floor is a peach. And I was just like that was the quickest universe just like fucking with me, synchronicity. And like that's the type of thing that I love, when something
That's
just like
the good magic.
immediately happens. Yes.
Were you, after you were like, shit, I don't have the peach, I'm not going to go back through this, at any time, what happened in between there and there? Were you like, I know I'm going to get a peach, I'm settled without the peach, I'm grateful for what I already have? Like, did you just kind of move on? Like, what
Yeah, I think I
extra
was just
did you
like,
give it?
it wasn't even a ton. It was just like, damn, I really wanted that peach, but like I'm not gonna go back and get it. I'll get it another time. And then like right there in front of me, it was just like boom. Like how what a perfect little like gift, little wink, little synchronicity from the universe. Just saying, like, hey bitch, I'm
Free
watching you.
peach.
I'm watching you.
I like it. I feel like that's been happening to me frequently.
I feel like I've had a lot of static electricity lately, and that might mean nothing. But when I touch something and I shock it, that's just interesting. I'm like, what is this? You know?
It's that alone, that idea alone of static electricity is how I know we don't need wires in anything. It's
Okay.
that simple idea that I can walk across my house when it's cold enough and touch my cat and see a light source go between my finger and my cat's fur. And or you, if you were sitting there and I was like shuffling and touched you, you'd see it, even if it would be like a blue
Remember
electric
that
line.
that old like thing you would get at Spencer's that was like a circular thing
Tesla
on a
ball.
pedestal? Yeah, and you would touch it and it's like that.
Yeah, it's that exact same look. So it's like, if that's in the universe and I just drew that into me with 98.6 degrees, it, to me, it just says there is magnetism that's going on in us. There's more than
It's
just
like
an
it's
energy.
magic to me. Static
It's
like, and I
maggot
think it's so
magic.
interesting. Andre asked, why do some people put off more static electricity than others? And that was before we even talked about it. So Andre, like we're on the same, and like they're on a delay with us, you know. So I just
Crazy.
like love that got brought up. But yeah, I feel like I'm electrically magical.
Well, we carry different heats.
I
And
run
then
cold. I run a little cold.
I feel like they tried to turn us all into running cold before they were about to put a thermometer to all of our head and say, if you're 1 degree over, that's a COVID symptom. Now you have to stay home from work. And so, like 6 months before COVID came out, they were like, the normal body temperature is now 97.7.
Oh,
So,
they did say that?
yeah, they lowered it on us.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things, like right after when everything was clotting, they were like, hey, everyone, aspirin every day is not good. Don't take an aspirin every day. And I'm like, you've been telling this generation for 50 years to take an aspirin every day. And now you're just going to tell them to stop cold turkey. That in like, oh, you're going to be like, oopsie, bad information about the aspirin. That's how you're going to explain all this clotting or whatever. And they also just last week were like, the American Heart Association doesn't think it's a good idea to drink. And I'm like, did they ever? What the fuck? But it's all blood thinning stuff. They're trying to thicken that blood.
Last question, and then we're gonna go. And it's kind of a big question, but do you think there are going to be real major long-term effects from the vaccine? Do you think there's going to be like neurological defects? Like, do you think a significant portion of the population is going to be eliminated from it? Or do you think that's a psyop?
Ooh, I almost wonder how many people like who got COVID, what was the last vaccine they had? Like, I think there is already repercussions of vaccines that you've already gotten. And so much might be named on this one vaccine just to placate and make people feel comfortable about the 72 vaccines they just shoved in their infant that wasn't the COVID shot. In a weird way, to me, it's almost like the COVID shots, the look over here, but flu vax is still okay, smallpox, rubella and parcella, whatever, all these names that they give for all these things that you don't need all those shots. And they're shoving all these same ingredients of all the things you can't pronounce in there with that. And so I am like, the long-term side effects of all the shots we're already giving us, we don't know about what spectrum all neurological disorders that have already been created, from Asperger's to homosexuality or any kind of like weird, not full homosexuality, but sexual disorders. I think there's things that go on all up in our head from all the vaccines they've been sticking on us for 100 years now, whoever knows how long. So I can't imagine that this is going to be the one. This is just like the cigarettes of cancer. Like they've been giving us cancer forever, and then they blame it on cigarettes, and everyone feels like, oh, now I'm going to eat organic and drink good water and everything's fine. But they've still poisoning our skies and poisoning our vegetables and doing everything else. And now we can go to every doctor and specialist and get their insurance and do their thing. So now they're just going to be like, hey, this vaccine, look at all the things it caused. Did you get this vaccine? Here's all the things. But everybody's still going to go get the other vaccines because now they told us about this one bad one. They're going to trust them about all these ones being good.
My thought recently was, I'm of the opinion that if the Bill Gates narrative where they want only 1/8 of the population to live, if that were true, in my opinion, only 1/8 of the population would be here. Like if they wanted us to be dead, we would be dead. And that would just be it. At the same time, I can't understand Trump's role with Operation Warp Speed and him demanding respect and demanding praise and admiration for his role in that, and wanting all of this kind of praise for it. I don't get that part of the narrative yet, but I wonder if this synthetic mRNA is going to cause the things that like the fertility issues or the neurological issues, or if maybe within the next 3 to 5 years, a portion of the population is going to drop dead. And this is the beginning of that Gates narrative, that they're setting Trump up for demanding all of this praise and admiration, that like he's going to be the scapegoat on it later, 3 years from now, when everyone starts dropping dead. Now they have someone to blame, and that's why he was intentionally demanding it this whole time. I don't know. I
only understand the warp speed from the thing of if you think, what if they made us stay, like whatever the fear factor was of the year,
right?
They made us stay in their house until we had some therapeutics or vaccine. Problem. And so I will give him the credit that he tried to just say, you guys can take vitamin C and zinc, some hydroxychloroquine. But guess what? I got it. I went to the hospital. I took that thing. Ta-da, I'm all better. He did try that method by showing us. Right. And then he was like, release the vaccines. Almost like all the cures at once. Johnson & Johnson's are going to release theirs. Then every company was like, what about ours? What about ours? And here's all the cures. And where they were all going to hold that shit back for 5 years. And that was the only reason. Because obviously, look how many shots are going around. They planned on giving out those shots forever. You know how many factories it would take to pile out all those shots? If they planned on really vaccinating the world with 3 shots a piece, you guys, that's 24 billion shots. Like, I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It just doesn't all reconcile.
What about if all these key people, the Gates, the Trumps, the Bidens, all of them, the Hollywood, the thing, none of them are real. Like the lizards are like illusions, like they're weak magic. So if we were to walk up to them, we could stick our hand through them. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so important for them to convince us of everything. Mm-hmm. So they can't just snap their fingers and kill us, but they can talk to a general, and to have a general convince an army, and have an army convinced to go and raid that other army. Like they have to do this series of things.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting to sit on the sidelines and observe.
But you're good at observing. That's why you spend so much time looshing yourself, because you really don't get looshed by outside stuff.
Mm-hmm. Just me and the boys. Me looshing myself over men. I just want to love, Cheney.
I like my favorite is that you're like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna eat steak tartare, and then you ended your ended your night with a new friend on Instagram.
Beef carpaccio and a request that I wonder if it will be approved.
Now it left on red.
I'm going to get left on requested.
But I do think if anyone's out there, we should all meet in Nashville and have a fun Friday night, maybe early Friday, because Sam has 2 shows. So if we hovered, we're going to go to our one that we go to and then hover around the area. So if anyone's at both,
I think we're going to be at both shows.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan to me. I'm open to it.
Cheney and I are going to get our lips tattooed.
Do you know what you're going to get?
I'm going to get a 47. I'm going to get a couple tattoos that night. I'm going to get the butterfly behind my ear. I'm going to get the 777 on my neck.
I'm going to get shill written across my neck.
Shill, no, Rugrats.
Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy.
I think I might put a 47 in here.
I really want a snake around my neck on my clavicles, like an Ouroboros. And I would love to get an apple in that just for all the symbology of it. But I'm not trying. I look a little too masculine to have an apple on my throat.
Wouldn't that be interesting if you did put your Adam's apple here?
Yeah, like an apple.
Or if you put like an apple here and then something over here for like Lilith or Eve. And then you had 2 snakes.
2 snakes. That's the never ending story. That has a different name. I always forget what it is. There's somebody at my work that has it tattooed on their knee. I was like, that's a good knee tattoo. Circles are good knee tattoos. And elbows.
I used to be so anti-tattoo. It's so interesting how far I've come.
Because it doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's removable now. There used to be a day tattoos were permanent. Now
yeah, but let me tell you, I did have another tattoo. Have I ever told you about that? The one I got removed? Are you drawing a teardrop?
That's what I was gonna draw on my face, so they had to do it in like who had a teardrop? Crybaby.
Crybaby. Did I tell you that I have a tattoo that I got removed though? I told you that, right?
Yes. What was it?
On my inner thigh.
What was it?
Someone's name. I got tattooed on my inner thigh because I'm a fucking psychopath.
Oh yes, you did.
My stalker.
You did tell me this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. But now it's officially gone. But let me tell you.
And you got it on your cake.
You can remove a tattoo, but it does take like 15 times over
on your face. See, I don't know if I'd want a tattoo on my face of anything.
I always wanted to have like my man's initials tattooed on like the underside of my ring finger. And so like nobody would know about it but us. And then I got love bombed and I got a tattoo on my inner thigh. Oh Lord, that Scorpio baby.
I guess
that Venus in Sagittarius. I just wanted to be wild.
See, my Venus is in Scorpio. And it's in my first house. It's like my number one, my sign I lead by the most is my Venus in Scorpio.
We're just so dark and mysterious. You guys, we probably tell you this all the time. You've heard it a million times, but Shani and I have the same birthday, 10 years apart. Sometimes we wonder if we actually live in the same dimension. I guess we're going to find out at the end of February.
I know this is such a weird sliding doors, parallel life. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. What about if we had like a Freaky Friday and we like,
oh my God, and switched?
Oh
shit. You got a lot of court cases upcoming, baby.
Oh shit.
I had to become your paralegal.
Yeah, like immediately. I would be on fine on stage. You would just be like, here's your script. And then you were like, please don't get off script. Please.
You're gonna become Kim Kardashian. I'm gonna baby bar you and teach you everything you know.
You might like it. You might come into my life and you might be like, huh, having a wife isn't bad.
I literally told you earlier last week I need a wife.
I know. Jules will put a plate of food down in front of you. You'd be like, this is amazing.
Okay, please, we don't need to manifest this.
No, that would be the weirdest. Well, at least we'd have somebody believe us.
Alex would know.
She would know immediately. She'd be like, this is not Cheney.
I'd be like, what am I supposed to do with the clitoris?
I'd be like, I want a bomba. Alex, you want a bomba? I do think it has to get to a point though on the show where Alex just comes in as a voice from the
I want her to
nowhere.
be like Roz on Frasier, you know?
Yeah, and just have
Like-
weird facts like you guys were talking about blah and blah. You were both wrong about this. It happened on this date. I just wanted to clarify that before we left. Like whatever.
Or Ghislaine's sentencing hearing is in June.
Yeah. I would love that part. Or just come on and just be like, Maria, stop talking about this story.
Wait, Future Unchanged said, Maria, miss you on IG. Baby, I am the Oracle 333 right now on my backup. Please follow me. Let's see if there's anything else. Maria, what's up with that new guy in Cali? Mr. California was married and the universe was presenting me with a louche loop and I had to decide differently this time. So I told him, you're my twin flame and I'm in love with you, but goodbye. Yeah, that was a hard. Cheney heard a lot about that.
Stab and turn. Don't forget the turn, because that's how the bleed out is quicker. You have to turn. If you ever stab somebody, you got to make sure you do the turn.
Yeah, go down the road, not across the street.
No. I need a second tear now.
Come on, crybaby.
No.
You could like color your hair, do some like black spray, and you would kind of have that Johnny Depp look going on in Crybaby right now.
That's my type of gal. That Crybaby. The girl on Crybaby, she was also on Melrose Place. That shows my age. If you know what Melrose Place is.
I know what Melrose Place is.
Cool kid. Alex does not know what Melrose Place is.
She's way too young for that.
That will be fun stuff too. To be like, Alex, please explain what you think Melrose Place is.
Somebody's apartment complex?
All right. It was actually about a 30-year-old carpenter who slept with a high school girl named Kelly. And then he went to his apartment complex and she was so in love with him, she stalked him. And after he slept with her, he was like, no, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And then we found out about him and all his friends. And that was called Melrose Place.
She sent the chat. It's not at all what I thought it was. All right, everyone. This was lovely. Cheney, thank you so much for hanging out. Psyop
Super
Sunday.
fun, as always.
If you have a better name for this, you guys, slide into my DMs and let me know. Wind down with Maria. Get high. I wish the higher side chat, because I love the old FDR fireside chat. But
you could have a fireside chat. My Maria fireside chat, and just go over the week's stuff. And you can use your page, one of your pages, because you have like 3 or 4. Use one of them as just the place so you can scroll back through for your head later on. You don't even have to take notes.
Right. Good call. Well, everyone, we love you. We talk to you soon. Cheney, where can we find you?
ProjectCheney.com has all my links, and Project Cheney and Cheney in Wonderland on Instagram.
Everyone, my Maria 777 is shadow banned AF. Find me shit posting at the Oracle 333. I'm on Twitter. Get on my website. Come here, PP. Do you want to say hi to the people? Come here. Come here. Come here. Okay. Okay, he's not going to come up here. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Bye bye.
Wait, if I end the meeting here, does this work?